As the fires of conflict rage once more in the Holy Land, a new threat has emerged from an unexpected quarter. The president of the Autonomous Republic of Chechnya has stunned the world with an audacious pledge. He's sending Chechnya's deadliest weapon to aid Palestine in its fight against Israeli forces. This dramatic vow threatens to drag the formidable fighting force of Chechnya into the volatile mix, internationalize the conflict in dangerous new ways. How might the battle-hardened but outnumbered Chechen military alter the balance of power between Israel and Palestine? An examination of the Chechen arsenal and combat record reveals they're not an opponent to be taken lightly. Before we delve into the complex dynamics of Chechnya's stance on Israel, let me reiterate why this channel is the perfect fit for enthusiasts of cars, current events, and global affairs. By subscribing, you're not only signing up for the latest automotive updates, but also gaining access to in-depth analyses of the stories shaping our world. Now, as we shift our focus to international relations, it's fascinating to observe how geopolitical alliances significantly impact the diplomatic landscape. As Morocco and even Saudi Arabia engage in negotiations to normalize relations with Israel, Chechnya stands firm in its opposition to recognizing Israel's statehood. The dispute between Chechnya and Israel goes beyond the Palestinian conflict, delving into the realm of international alliances. Notably, Chechen is backed by Russia, while Israel enjoys the support of the United States. With such contrasting alliances, finding common ground between Chechnya and Israel becomes an arduous task. Examining these two nations, both with significantly high conflict potential, it becomes particularly intriguing to compare their respective military strengths. Despite Chechnya's audacious challenge to Israel, it turns out that Chechnya's military capacity is surprisingly minimal. According to available data, Chechnya's military force comprises approximately 40,000 personnel. In contrast, Israel's military strength boasts an impressive 646,000 personnel, highlighting a stark disparity when compared to Chechnya's relatively diminutive force. Shifting our attention to the military hardware each country possesses, it's crucial to note that Chechnya lacks naval armaments, relying solely on ground and air forces. In terms of military hardware quantity, Chechnya is clearly overshadowed by Israel. Moreover, Israel's military technology surpasses that of Chechnya significantly. A noteworthy example is Israel's Mara-Yi-Barak tank, a recent innovation considered a frontrunner in futuristic tank technology. Examining this data, it becomes evident that the Chechnya military not only falls short in terms of personnel quantity, but also lags behind in the sophistication of military technology. When delving into the Air Force arsenals owned by both countries, a similar trend is evident, with Chet falling far behind. This leads to the next question. If they're outmatched in both quantity and technology, why does Chechnya still dare to confront it? The answer lies in the figure of Chechnya's president, Ramzan Kadyrov, known as Putin's foot soldier or Putin's most loyal fighter. This moniker of Putin's most loyal fighter is fitting for Ramzan Kadyrov, as his forces have repeatedly battled for Moscow's glory, from Syria to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. His troops have been involved in several key moments of Russian occupation, including the failed assassination attempt on the Ukrainian president in the occupation of Mariupol. In essence, Chechnya's troops, under the command of Ramzan Kadyrov, are indeed a faithful apparatus for Russia, even more loyal than the Wagner mercenaries. Thus, it's understandable that someone who refers to himself as Putin's foot soldier would aspire to have a private army equivalent to pre-gone Wagner. Moreover, Ramzan Kadyrov is known for voicing radical ideas to Russia, such as using low-yield nuclear weapons in the war against Ukraine. Understanding the closeness and commitment of Ramzan Kadyrov to Russia, we can surmise that Russia plays a crucial role should Chechnya enter the battlefield against Israel. One widely speculated role is that Russia would become the primary supplier of modern weaponry for Chechnya's frontline troops. This could range from supplying ammunition and firearms to military hardware. Besides leveraging their close ties with Russia, Ramzan Kadyrov's bold action of openly defying Israel could also serve as a catalyst in forging a coalition of Muslim nations against Israel. This includes countries like Iran, Yemen, Afghanistan, Syria, and even Saudi Arabia, which, to this day, rejects the normalization of relations with Israel promoted by the United States. Chechnya's strategy hinges on the potential formation of a coalition of Muslim nations. If this coalition were to materialize, Chechnya could potentially escalate the conflict for Israel by enlisting powerful nations like Iran and Saudi Arabia, with Russia serving as a primary weapon supplier. Geographically, the route from Chechnya to Israel poses challenges, being primarily land-based. To engage in a war defending Palestine, Chechnya troops would need to traverse through Syria, an ally of Russia. However, this entails navigating through Turkey and Georgia, affiliated with NATO and currently undecided on their stance regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. The geographical hurdles make it difficult for Chechnya to reach Syria, a crucial gateway into the Israel-Palestine conflict. A potentially effective approach could involve leveraging Russian support and utilizing military cargo aircraft such as the Antonov A-124 to transport Chechnya forces. Thus, Chechnya's involvement heavily relies on strategic alliances, potential coalition formations, and logistical support from nations aligned with their cause. Chechnya's involvement indeed heavily relies on Putin's decisions. Surprisingly, in the latest Israel-Palestine conflict, the Russian president's name has emerged as a potential peace broker. According to Hamas, Russia could serve as an impartial mediator in the ongoing conflict due to its close ties with both sides. Considering the potential bias of the United States, a traditional mediator, towards its ally Israel, Hamas's request for Russia to act as a peace broker seems reasonable. The ball is now in Russia's court, determining whether it will fan the flames of the Israel-Hamas conflict by sending Chechnya troops or act as a mediator to facilitate negotiations between the two parties. In response to Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky's statement, where he claimed Russia is interested in triggering a war in the Middle East, Kyrylo Budanov, Ukraine's top intelligence officer, alleged that Moscow may have provided Hamas with arms seized in Ukraine to cover Russia's involvement. Budanov mentioned that trophy arms from Ukraine, mostly infantry weapons, have been passed to the Hamas group. However, despite the decades-long amicability between Russia, Hamas, and Iran, several experts have warned that there is no concrete proof of Russian arms supplies to Hamas. Decades of geopolitical history have shaped Russia's complex relations with Israel and Hamas, with roots dating back to the Soviet era. In 1948, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin initially welcomed the establishment of Israel, envisioning it as a potential pro-Moscow socialist nation. However, as Israel aligned itself with the West, the Soviets shifted their stance and began cultivating ties with Palestinian leaders. The geopolitical landscape further evolved in 1967 when the Kremlin, amid the Arab-Israeli War, severed diplomatic ties with Israel, denouncing it as a Zionist warmonger. However, following the migration of millions of post-Soviet Jews to Israel, diplomatic relations saw a thaw, leading to closer ties between Moscow and Tel Aviv. Recent dynamics suggest a potential shift in Russia's long-standing policy of balancing between various players in the Middle East. Experts from Chatham House, Nikolai Kazanov and James Nixie, argued that the Hamas-Israel conflict may mark the end of this policy. Notably, Russia welcomed a Hamas delegation in Moscow in October and refrained from condemning the initial Hamas attack. Coupled with its close alliance with Iran, these developments have strained Russia's relations with Israel. As Moscow strengthens ties with Iran, tensions with Israel rise. What are your thoughts on this evolving geopolitical landscape? Drop a comment below on how you think these developments might impact the region, and don't forget to subscribe for more insightful analyses and updates on global affairs. Stay informed and hit that subscribe button.